I'm just checking in a little bit early to make sure everything's going well after last week. So just hang with us and we'll get started in a couple minutes. And for my dad.
You joined, you joined the event, right? It's not showing live on my page. I wonder if it's showing live for you. Oh, it is now. It is now. Okay, hi everyone. And for your dad.
And I don't know how they were saying though to confirm that you are going live. Like for
just logging in on social media and seeing. We're live on LinkedIn.
Wonderful.
Everyone, we're just getting settled in. Join us. Welcome.
Get comfortable. All
right. We'll give it another minute or so.
So for my dad, Jessica, I'm going to do that. Am I sounding weird?
You sound great.
Okay, I'm going to do that clap real quick. So we'll stop talking for a sec. I'll clap, and then we can talk again. All right, Tom, this is for you. Okay, so now we should be all synced up when he goes to edit this out. All right, I'm going to start the 1 minute timer so we can get started soon.
It sounds great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second week of our Follow Our Journey Through Radical Remission Coach Training Series. In case you missed the first session, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Cheryl.
If you'd like to learn more about us and why we decided to go on this journey, please watch our video from the last session last week, which we have posted on our social media sites and will be uploaded to our websites. As a disclaimer, we also have no affiliation with the Radical Remission Project other than enrolling in the Radical Remission Coach Training. So these views are our own, obviously. Today, we're going to discuss Radical Mission, the book written by Dr. Kelly Turner, and Radical Hope, which is also written by Dr. Kelly Turner with Tracy White. Though these books are required reading for this coach training that we're about to do, to be quite honest, they're some of the most powerful required reading that Cheryl and I have ever done on holistic health and healing. And so we're really excited to be here today to discuss them together. We'll talk about how these books are universally relevant and may benefit everyone, not only those with cancer, but also for prevention and enhancing health. Both these books, they're messages of health advocacy, integrative healing, and self-empowerment, and just that sheer impact of the human story and the truth about what's written, and the innate desire to live. All of these things are so beautifully captured, and so we're really excited to be here.
Yes, we are. So Dr. Kelly Turner, the author of Radical Remission and co-author of Radical Hope, is a researcher and psychotherapist who specializes in integrative oncology. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, integrative oncology includes complementary therapies that supports the whole patient, so mind, body, and soul. So some examples of those mind-body methods like yoga and meditation, energy medicine like Reiki or Tai Chi, and biologically based practices such as using supplements or changing your diet. In the introduction of Radical Remission, Dr. Kelly Turner tells her story on why she decided to do research on radical remission, which I felt was very powerful. So she had been a counselor for oncology patients, and she came across the first oncology patient. First came across a cancer patient that experienced a radical remission by outliving their prognosis. She was extremely intrigued by this and began searching for other cases of radical remission. She was shocked to find over 1,000 cases of radical remission in medical journals. She worked at that time at a major cancer research institute and had never heard of a radical remission before. So shortly after learning about this radical remission and the 1,000 of other cases, a young woman, one of her counseling clients, came to her. She was newly diagnosed with an aggressive cancer and had very young children. And she pleaded with Dr. Kelly Turner. I'm just going to read this. This is page 2 in the Radical Remission book because I just found this to be very powerful. What can I do to get better? Just tell me what to do. I'll do anything. I don't want my children growing up without a mother. As a nurse, I've heard this many times, unfortunately. And it was a moment like that, or that moment for Dr. Kelly Turner, that she decided to continue on for her PhD and dedicate her life not only to finding, analyzing radical remission cases, but talking about radical remission cases.
To be quite honest, Cheryl, I hadn't heard too much about radical remission cases either. Literally less than a handful. And it was like through yoga or some place where we came together for holistic health and healing. I hadn't heard much about it in my conventional education. So I was quite surprised as well that there was so much documented on it. It's quite amazing. And so like that inspiration is powerful. And then even so for this book, Radical Hope, the inspiration behind this, so on top of the power of truth, right? And the power of people overcoming such adversity, radically healing from cancer and other diagnoses as well. But Dr. Turner describes how she got to work with Tracy White for this book. And though I don't know Tracy White, her legacy lives on through this book and through her work and touches her lives. And I'm literally just going to read this from the back cover. But Tracy White is the co-author of Radical Hope. After her diagnosis of recurrent cervical cancer, Tracy defied the odds by living an additional 2.5 high-quality years after her doctors predicted she would die, during which time she co-authored this book and cherished extra years spent with her son and husband. And so I just want to pause and just acknowledge that this is, someone's will to live. That much love and dedication went into writing, and it already sets such a beautiful intention for this work, and it just speaks volumes about our will to live and fulfilling a life calling in general, and how when we have that, we live longer, right? That's known. And that driving spirit is really what makes life so beautiful. And Tracy's story also really gets to another important point, which is about not only the purpose of life and finding meaning in life, but about really questions about the length and quality of life, right? Many of us dream of living long and peacefully, but it's really also just as important is that quality of life and having that sense of fulfillment.
Yeah, the best part of what you had just read to me is a quality 2.5 years. So I think oftentimes in conventional medicine, there's a lot of focus on quantity and a slight less on quality. And not that one comes without the other. I do not believe that it's a choice. But I think there should be more emphasis on the quality of life. Another beautiful thing about these books, and you mentioned Tracy White as the co-author of Radical Hope, but there are so many other men and women that I had read about through both of these books and through the program that we'll talk about tomorrow that went through this training as a cancer survivor themselves or a cancer patient themselves, and are now going on to do this work coaching and passing along this knowledge, because it is just that beautiful and it empowers them to be able to pass it on and educate others as well.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right and key, right? Because with this work and with any work in general, we learn that when it comes to our own health, our own healing and well-being, we are the ones who need to be proactive. We are the ones who need to educate ourselves and take responsibility for that, because at the end of the day, we are the ones that are responsible, um, to the best of our abilities, right, for enhancing our own health and well-being and doing everything we can, um, while also, of course, gladly relying on the knowledge of others and the medical systems and healing systems. But we need to be proactive and also to take the best, right, of both the biomedical science and holistic and integrative techniques.
Yeah, again, it doesn't have to be quality versus quantity, and it doesn't have to be conventional versus alternative. It can be complementary together, which is beautiful. And I completely agree that we should be proactive in our care, and truly there is no one else responsible for our well-being besides us when it comes down to it, but I think that's much easier said than done. I think as somebody without a medical background, when you walk into a room with an oncologist that is giving you a diagnosis and using words that you've never heard and talking about these crazy treatments, it can be difficult to feel as an equal to that doctor. But you are an expert. Everyone is an expert of themselves. So when they go into that appointment, yes, the doctor is an expert. They spent years learning about this and dedicate so much time and themselves into knowing this stuff, but you're the expert in you. So I think what's overlooked is it should be an appointment should be two experts coming together, using their expertise together to come up with a plan that is best suited for the patient. And I think sometimes that's not the way it goes. So, I think for you too, the reason that we have these wellness businesses is so that we can really educate and empower individuals to feel confident in their ability to be proactive in their care. Through knowledge and understanding, we want everyone to feel confident to be the active participant in their well-being.
It's so beautifully said, and I love that. I think this is a quote from Spider-Man, but with great knowledge comes great responsibility, or something along those lines. And you feel that way as a physician, especially when when I was caring for patients, because you do work really hard to try to learn everything possible to keep the patient's best interests at heart. And at the end of the day, or not at the end of the day, from the very beginning, if you go in there with that, equal, you're going in a healing partnership. And that's one of the words from coaching I love is partnership, because both are experts. Actually, the client in coaching is the expert, but the point is you have two human beings together in a partnership. And there's so much humility. And that relationship really gets enhanced and nurtured when there's that mutual respect. So it's really beautiful to have that and to nurture that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I know, Cheryl, you feel this way too, because I know you're still practicing, especially in hospice too. But I really don't have any words to express my gratitude for being a physician, and it's changed my life, transformed my life in so many ways. I'm so grateful for it. But I think one of the things that is interesting, it's core to medicine, but not commonly talked about, and that's spirituality. That it's non-denominational, right? And unifies us all, that desire to be part of something larger than ourselves. And it's really the sense of purpose, right? That drives us at our core. And that looks differently for each of us. And so that's ultimately what led my decision to practice well being and learn more holistic health and healing modalities, especially yoga and Ayurveda. And Ayurveda is so beautiful. It's the Vedic science or knowledge of life. It's a beautiful, comprehensive, holistic health and healing system. And it so beautifully enriches us in teaching us to nurture the divine healer in each and every one of us. And it's amazing because each and every person who shares their healing journey in the books, Radical Remission, Radical Hope, they've done that. They've nurtured their natural, innate intuition and wisdom to promote their own health and healing and really advocate for their own lives.
So beautiful. You brought up two like really powerful things, spirituality. Love it, and loved what I read in this book about it. So amazing. endless possibilities, but yet you can be so different, but yet we're all one. It's so beautiful. But another thing you had mentioned is intuition, which is what I really, really enjoyed in this book. I I think you had mentioned like yoga and Ayurveda is like your introduction kind of through spirituality into complementary therapies. For me, it was when my late husband Ryan was sick and going through treatments, and it was, you have to do this treatment. Here's your treatment that you have to do. It didn't really seem like any options. And then because of this treatment, now you experience a side effect. So maybe it's nausea. So then you go to the doctor and you say, he's experiencing nausea. So first thing is, oh, we have a medication for that. So then it's, here's a medication for nausea. Well, now that medication is causing another side effect. So now he has constipation. And so now, oh, you have constipation. Here's a stool softener and here's a laxative. So it's just this vicious cycle of med after med and no like holistic approach like to dealing with any of those side effects. So for me, my intuition was like, hey, there's something else here. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea about complementary therapies. I had no experience, no medical background really at this point, had just started nursing school. So I started researching and diving in and became familiar with aromatherapy and massage and yoga. And we both had used these during his journey with cancer. And then I continued through my own personal journey, like love mindfulness, different forms of meditation, supplements, Tai Chi, Reiki, all of these things that I now continue to use I did use with my patients, both in the hospital inpatient setting and the outpatient setting, and now continue to use with my clients. So I do think though, that when you're looking at complementary therapies, when you want to start trying to take that approach, it's so overwhelming. There's so many possibilities. There's so many different areas in which you can go. So what I love about these books is that Dr. Kelly Turner puts them in these pretty little packages for you. You have these 10 factors and to enhance wellness, and it's just this easy approach for somebody with no background. Like I wish I had these back when I was trying to figure things out, because it would have made it so much easier for me to manage.
Yeah, I love that. It's like it's being spoon fed. The thing is, we don't know that the spoon exists. And the spoon looks different for everyone. So it's just amazing. And basically the other thing that I love is, so medicine, there's always a science and an art to medicine, right? There's an art of life. There's an art is beautiful because it's creativity, and there's no right or wrong answer. And you yourself will know what direction you're going in based on, how life is going and for things that we can have it under our influence anyway. Obviously, there's so many external situations that we can't control for. But basically, I love these modalities as well because at the core, they're 9 or 10, right? 9 in the first book, 10 in the second book. But how you dress them up, how you wear them, how you use them is going to be different. It may be different for everyone. And so it just really goes to show that there's no right or wrong as long as you're on this journey.
Yes, and they talk about that in these books. I don't remember which book it was, probably Radical Remission, page 113, but it talks about how radical remission survivors believe that everyone has a set of changes that they need to make or heal, their own personal set of changes. So this notion kind of clashes with conventional medicine, which strives for here's a single cure for a single disease. But when trying to figure out what change is needed for mind, body, spirit to heal, intuition, as it keeps, this repetitive theme of intuition can be used here, just like you were saying.
And it's beautiful. The word intuition, it's like, how do you capture the intangible, or how do you capture the unspoken, so to speak? And it's so beautiful when you find works that do that, whether it's art, music, or in this case, these books. And that's why genuinely, we both love them. They've been one of those, like, at least Radical Remission for me was like, one book that can change and has transformed how I think, especially about healing. And basically, the really key points are that rather than use chemotherapy to kind of wipe out all the bad cells, we can strengthen our immune systems to strengthen our healing, which is to be honest, that was radical for me in itself when I first learned that. And something that I do really appreciate about both of these books is a few points that are made very clearly. One is that what each person feels contributed to their disease and to their healing is really unique to them. And two, these techniques do not guarantee results, right? But they're based on research of true radical remission survivors. And so they're being shared with us with that as stepping stones to do our own research for the medical field itself to do more research on this, to become advocates. And three, to respect the importance of both conventional medicine and the holistic healing modalities, because by no means can you like replace one with another. But I love what you said before about complementary medicine and having them complement each other. And so I really have a lot of respect for Dr. Kelly Turner's work and the credibility of her work. It really comes through very strongly as fulfillment of a life calling and a question that she really dedicated so much of her life to answer. And I would just like to say, on the writing itself, so after so many years of medical education and learning to write notes and process notes, and it took me a while to learn how to really write for fun and to write creatively. I'm actually in the process of completing my first book manuscript on enhancing well-being and fulfillment as a physician, and in the process have read a lot. And so I really, the final edited version of like both of these books, where they are, it's so well done. They've combined so much research into these books. They've like written clearly, conversationally, in a way to keep anyone engaged that attracts someone without a medical background and fully educates someone with a medical background, which is not an easy feat. So from a writing and like technical standpoint, these books are phenomenal.
Completely agree. Like I read them so fast. I could just go through it. You don't get caught up in a bunch of like jargon. It was just beautifully written and you get immersed in these stories. But then there's certain chapters, like the intuition keeps coming up for me, that I absolutely loved. And there is research on intuition. Like, what? I had no idea. So, of course, the nurse side of me has to go in the back. And this is the other thing I love about this book is that they have a notes section and it's broken down by each chapter, and she lists every single article that she had used for her research and to write this book. And so I was able to really deep dive into these research articles about intuition. So I love that it could just be a nice easy read and I could use it for much deeper education purposes.
Yeah, it's amazing, the deeper dive. To be honest, like reading has been such a joy for me too, just like the act of reading in itself. I used to really enjoy it and then I kind of lost touch through grad school and all the other requirements of reading. I actually fell in love with reading again or refound reading when I was trying to recover from my own burnout during residency. I didn't know it was burnout at the time, mind you. I just knew I wasn't feeling very happy. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? And I knew like I hate to say this, not very proud of it, but I did watch a ton of Netflix at the time, and I knew it was staying up later. It was not sleeping because I was watching anyway. I replaced that with reading, even just for 5 or 10 minutes before bed. And it took me maybe 6 or 7 months to read my first book, but it changed. Something shifted. I fell asleep quicker. I felt like my quality of sleep was better. Like I felt more energized even if I slept late. And I felt happier, which is something I did not expect because it was like this, I felt like different parts of my brain being used that hadn't been used in a while. And so I just like there's this imagery that happens, right? This like natural imagination that happens. And I feel like when we watch TV, all the images, the sound, and the visuals are right in front of you. So it was really nice to just create that again. And professionally, reading now, even just 15 to 20 minutes a day, you can still get through a lot. You'd be surprised. And one of the things that I do with everyone that I work with, I recommend books and reading and integrate that into holistic wellness plans.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I agree. It's so important. So, reading alone can enhance your wellness no matter what you are reading at all. um, but also reading about enhancing your wellness is like double time enhancing your wellness. So we obviously very much recommend reading these books to enhance wellness. And there are so many other books out there. So we would love to hear your suggestions, but would also love to share a couple with you.
Yeah, that's a thing that I didn't realize how many books are out there on
So many.
for self-development and holistic health and healing in all different cultures globally, but just a few that I'd like to at least share now for your reference. Dr. Dilip Sarkar wrote a beautiful book, Yoga Therapy, Ayurveda, and Western Medicine. And in it, he's a retired vascular surgeon and now an internationally known yoga therapist and Ayurvedic practitioner. And he describes at the very beginning of this book about how he had a heart attack at a very young age, his early 50s, despite being in perfect health, according to medical science. No medications, no lab abnormalities, nothing, great weight. And he was so surprised by what happened to his health and having a heart attack that he pursued healing with yoga and Ayurveda. And it's just amazing because whatever the journey is and whatever form it is, just hearing it from people who have gone through it and then going through it ourselves, right? We all go through our journeys. It's very empowering. Lissa Rankin's Mind Over Medicine, and all of her books for that matter. Dr. Lissa Rankin, she's amazing, and Dr. Bernie Siegel as well.
I am a big fan of Dr. Andrew Weil. I have his book, Mind Over Med. So knowing when drugs are necessary, when alternatives are better, and when to let your body heal on its own. Beautiful book, well written. And then he had also written Spontaneous Healing, which Dr. Kelly Turner, that was where she had first heard about her first radical remission case, was through Dr. Andrew Weil's books. So those are great books that I would highly recommend. And there are many more.
So as you can see, we're both highly enthusiastic about reading. We both recommend Radical Remission and Radical Hope for everyone.
Yeah, they are empowering. They teach us not one, but numerous factors that we can use to enhance our own health and nurture our healing.
And so if you've read the books, and like Cheryl mentioned, if you have other book recommendations, please share them with us. We love all positivity, and if you can relate with what we've had to say or had experience with it too, we'd love to hear from you. And so to close our Go Live session today, we'd love to each close with one quote from each book. And so I will read this one. It's from Radical Remission on page 222. We live in a culture that prioritizes individualism above all else. We are taught to become individual citizens who live independent, separate lives from our neighbors. However, all the major spiritual traditions tell us the exact opposite, that we are all intimately and invisibly connected, and that, in fact, we are all made of the same spiritual energy. If you have never had an experience of universal love, where the feeling that you are an individual slips away and you feel merged with and at peace with everything, then you probably have not yet had a full experience with this third kind of love, which many radical remission survivors describe as the deepest love there is.
It's so beautiful. So my quote is going to be from Radical Hope, which is the second book. And I am reading from page 138. And I thought with Radical Hope, this would be a great quote to read. And I just want to point out that this quote is actually from one of the stories that they tell in there. So a survivor named Palmer, who actually survived MS, not cancer. So she says that hope is real. Healing is possible. I always want to transmit that certainty because I think there is a time perhaps where people don't know yet, when they haven't experienced that possibility for themselves. I know this possibility of healing to be true. We're not just an inconsequential N of one. Thousands of people have healed from conditions that they have been told were incurable by doctors who have not yet learned or embraced the empowering science of epigenetics. Is it going to take hard work and perseverance and courage and all of that? Yes. But I think that the first step to really feel it is in your heart and adopt the growth mindset to know you can, and then embrace the optimistic attitude that you will.
Wow, that is really beautiful, Cheryl. Thank you so much. I'm also just noticing in the chat, Dan, thank you so much for the suggestion. We have a book suggestion, which is Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. I did hear that was a good one. I need to add it to the to-do list.
I did too. Yes, I will add it. Thanks so much, Dan.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here today with us. And we look forward to next week when we're going to discuss the Radical Remission program that we take as a prereq to our teacher training.
Yes, it's an online course. It's accessible to everyone for a deeper dive and practical application of these books, but that's what we're talking about next week. So we hope you can join us.
Yes. Thank you so much. So it's next Friday at 2:00. See you then.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.